Hello everyone, this is ACH Kai, and we're going to take a look at another 1v1 here featuring the Zerg player CatZ. And we saw him face off against Spades in our last 1v1 that we saw on Steps of War, and he did some really interesting drone harassment with 4 of his initial. I believe he sent it when he had around 10 drones, and actually slowed the Terran down quite a great deal. So very good drone control, and he was able to take his first expansion despite being down 4 drones at his main. It was quite an interesting play. I've never quite seen anything like it. But we are going to watch another 1v1 that he is playing here against our red Terran player here on the left of the map. He's at the 9 o'clock position, Dignitas Sjow. So I'm sorry if I'm saying his name wrong. That is quite a weird name. I'm just calling him Dignitas because that's a lot easier to say than Sjow. And I know that usually we do the Wacky Wednesday, and this is supposed to be week number 4 of the Wacky Wednesday. We were talking about doing nuke rushes, but I am sadly going to have to not do one this week because unfortunately nobody actually submitted replays. So I was actually kind of surprised about that, but if you guys, I want to get the input from you guys. If you guys don't enjoy the Wacky Wednesday, that is totally cool. I will stop the series right now, but I thought it might be something fun to do. So anyways, give me your opinions in the comments down below. Let me know if you like the Wacky Wednesday, if you don't like the Wacky Wednesday, and if you do like the Wacky Wednesday but you're not submitting some replays, why the heck not, you know? Let me know why you're not submitting replays. Is it that we're doing the wrong race? Are we doing the wrong premises? Or whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and say right now for next week's Wacky Wednesday, rather than doing a straight up nuke rush, I want to see some rushes involving ghosts. So this can be anything from a nuke rush to just some early ghost pressure, so you can use snipe on Marines or Zerglings or drones or whatever you want it to be. So get creative and, you know, come up with some kind of ghost-based rush strategy so that we can see some interesting playstyle centric around the ghosts. But anyways, we're going to get back into this game now. This is Zerg versus Terran matchup on Metalopolis. We're playing on a 4-player map here. And now Metalopolis, this is a map that can get a huge variance of game types on it because of how it's laid out. If both players spawn in either the bottom right or the top left, then they have a very short distance to travel between the ramps. I'm just going to go ahead and show this to you just so you guys are aware if you have not played this map enough. But here's the entrance to the Terran player's base, and he's going up to where he scouts. Bam, it's right there. So both entrance ramps are on the same side of the map. It's relatively easy to get to. But if they spawn on opposite sides, the ramps are facing away from each other. You got a bit more distance to travel. Not quite as much as if they were in cross spawns, but they are further apart here than they would be as if they were both in the upper left portion of the map. And it looks like Dignitas already getting down a supply depot behind the line of sight blockers, wants to make sure that he knows if the Zerg player tries to drop any kind of a Nidus Worm in there, or if he tries to do any kind of an Overlord drop a little bit later on in the game. And it looks like he's only got 1 gas so far, getting his factory up, and he's going to get out that early helling to do some harassment, do some scouting. And as we can see, CatZ, our Zerg player, playing very, very typical for Zergs post-patch 1.2. They are getting that fast expand, and that is definitely something I want to recommend to any of you Zerg players looking for ways to improve your game against a Terran player. Unless you spawn some super, super hyper aggression, you can almost always go hatchery first blind. You don't have to worry about the Reapers anymore. Really heavy all-in Marine pressure super early on is not very common, and if you scout light pressure, you can still get a spine crawler up in time to defend against that. So getting that early hatchery out against Terran players is very, very common play now. So I definitely recommend giving that a shot if you are not currently doing that in your ZvT matchups. But it looks like we do have a decent amount of drones here starting to go up at the natural already, and pretty good saturation. As we can see on the income tab here, both players are relatively even. There is a little bit of a lead starting to come out for a Zerg player here as he starts to get that natural saturated, and he does have a slight harvester lead. 6 more harvesters for our Zerg player CatZ right now, and he is getting his Evo chamber up. So I'm curious to see if he's going to use that to get spine crawlers in case he's trying to defend against some kind of a Banshee harassment, or if he's actually going to get an early +1 for his Zerglings. And here come the Zerglings out, going to get this Hellion, taking it down at the Xel'Naga Watchtower, and they're going to continue to chase this extra Hellion back. And that Hellion looks like it's going to get trapped, possibly. No, he is going to make it back to the bunker. These Zerglings are going to have to back off. So very, very good control by our Zerg player, and it looks like Dignitas is getting his expansion up and running relatively quickly. Here he is, of course, behind our Zerg player, but not waiting too terribly long before getting it up and running, and he is getting the orbital command straight away. Now, another thing to note for most Terran players, if you do not know this, a lot of Terran players out there, especially the good ones, will turn this into an orbital command when they build it in their base before they lift it off. That gives them that initial mule. It keeps the command center safe while it's transitioning into an orbital command, although he does have the bunkers up here to make sure it's safe. But getting that orbital command up and running quicker so that you can drop that first mule is definitely nice to do. It gets you the extra minerals a little bit quicker. But anyways, the Zergling's going to continue to scout around here. The Terran player getting his SCVs mining at the expansion, although we do see the gap widening between our Terran and our Zerg player. There is now 9 more workers for our Zerg player versus our Terran player, so a lot of workers coming out, going down to 8 now though, just a 8 drone difference. But looking at the units on the map, he does have some Zerglings here, but other than that, he does not have a whole lot else. He is getting some roaches now, but just a couple queens and drones. That's pretty much it. He's not going for banelings yet. He's not going for any mutalisks or anything like that. But speaking of mutalisks, his Spire tech is done now, and I do not see him putting down a Spire anywhere. I'm sorry, his layer tech is done now, but he's not yet putting down a Spire. He is getting some upgrades, though, upgrading Carapace level 1 and the speed upgrade for roaches as well. And that speed upgrade for roaches is super important. Another Hellion popping out here, trying to do some scouting, but they are going to be chased off once again by the Zerglings. And looking at our Terran player's base, it looks like he is getting another factory up here and a Thor out. So it looks like Dignitas is preparing to deal with some muta harassment, which, as we mentioned a little bit ago, there is not even a Spire going down yet for our Zerg players. So he is definitely not going to be worried about dealing with that Thor. And actually, if you get a decent amount of roaches, taking down a Thor can be quite easy, especially with the extra range that the roaches have now. And here is a lot of roaches coming right now. Looks like we've got about 19 roaches moving out, going to try to put some pressure on the Terran player's base, and he only has 1 siege tank sieged up next to his natural. So it may be very difficult for him to hold this off if the Zerg player decides to be super aggressive with it. And here comes the push right now, going to get in there and get us around on that bunker and take it down before it can even be repaired. And that siege tank is going to do a pretty good amount of damage to these roaches if he does not, if he's not careful of it. And he does get some roaches up there and picks it off from the low ground. And here comes our Zerg player, going to try to take out this Thor. And if the Terran player cannot keep this Thor alive and get some more units out here quickly, he's going to be in bad, bad shape. And he may lose this game to this first push from our Zerg player. And yes, there is the other bunker going down right now. He really needs to get some Marauders out. But as you can see, he has only factories down right now, it looks like. I don't even see where his barracks went. I'm not sure exactly what happened to his barracks. Oh, there it is. It's up in the corner of his base for some reason. Doesn't even have a tech lab on it. And he really needs roaches to help with holding this off. It looks like these siege tanks are going to be enough to push back the roaches for now, but there are a bunch more roaches coming up right now. And if we look on the units overlay, we can see that there are a total of 23 roaches on the map right now, and only 2 siege tanks, 1 Thor, and 3 Hellions to defend against this very, very strong Zerg push. Meanwhile, the Zerg player doing what all good players should do. When you're putting pressure on, expand behind it. And another bunker going down for our Terran player. He's going to throw it down out at in front of his natural, and he's trying to get some Marines out to go in this bunker, but what he really needs is the Marauders. The Marauders doing the extra bonus damage to those armored roaches is what he needs to help in those siege tank splash damage, but it does not look like he's going to be getting those. Moving some more siege tanks out here, although this siege tank on the low ground may have been a mistake. He is going to take that siege tank down super quick, and here comes some Hellions. Hellions, of course, do virtually no damage to roaches, and once again, the roaches take down that bunker without any problem. And our Terran player managing to hold on somehow, but he is quickly being taken out of this game. He's really going to need to get some kind of extra infantry to deal with this, because just the few Marines that he's got is not going to be enough. I definitely think he needs to get some Marauders in the mix. He does have 3 siege tanks here still defending, and it looks like he is cranking out some more Hellions and more siege tanks. I don't know why he's focusing on those Hellions so much, because Hellions are just absolutely terrible at defending against roaches. And here comes some more Zerglings. Speed Zerglings going to check out the map. The expansion is up at the high yield for a Zerg player. And if we look at the income right now, we can see that there is actually not as huge of a discrepancy as you would expect, although there we go. Mule must have just died because it's widening now. It's at about 600 minerals, so that 700 minerals there for a second too. So that is a huge, huge lead for our Zerg player. And I think that, oh my gosh, apparently I did not turn off the, I did not put myself on busy. That is absolutely horrendous. I'm going to go ahead and do that right now, even though this game seems like it's almost over. But anyways, there is a bunch of siege tanks here. It looks like he's got a total of 5 now. And the Hellions are going to come out here, try to do some harassment possibly, checking out this gold base, and they are going to see that the Zerg player has expanded to the gold, going to try to get up here and do some damage. He does have the pre-igniter upgrade, so those drones are going to be able to go down really quick, but there are a lot of roaches here to defend this. And he manages to take out a good chunk of workers at this gold expansion, but that is not going to be nearly enough to get him back into this game. You can see the harvester count leveling out a little bit. He's only down by, oh, now it went up to 13. He was only down by 10 there for a second. But losing a bunch of drones there and then having to re-drone up, it was actually relatively quick. And somehow it looks like the Terran players managed to hold on here. He is going to be getting himself back into this game, although he needs to get his other expansion up, a third expansion, relatively quickly here, because if the Zerg player maintains that gold base for too long before he gets his third, it is going to be very difficult for him to move out on this map. And it looks like he is going to just stick with straight mech play, not using any Marines or Marauders other than the Marines that are in his bunker. And there is another command center going up for Dignitas right now up at his natural. And here comes some over.